Good morning, students and staff. It is time for our morning news and announcements. Today is Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. And now for the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may all be seated. Now for the school pledge. Please recite along with me. I promise to treat others with kindness and respect. Keep our school safe, be ready to learn, have a positive attitude, and give my personal best every day. I am a special person. I am a wildcat. Today's birthday celebration is for Bonnie Elmore. Please come to the office to get your birthday surprise. We have a special staff birthday today for Nurse Inman. If you see Nurse Inman, make sure you wish her a happy birthday.
If you could, this is just a friendly reminder to please make sure you do your student attendance every morning by 8:30. Thank you.
Hey there, BPS. So the last couple of weeks we have talked about speed and the rate at which you read. So fluency, there are actually three parts to fluency. Rate, which is how fast or how slow you read, and we talked last week about first grade students should read 47 words a minute by the end of the year, and second grade students should be reading 87 words a minute by the end of the year, and then a third grade student should be reading about 120 words per minute. Now, the rate at which you read, how fast or how slow you read, is only one part of fluency. The second part of fluency is called intonation. It's a big word. Everybody say the word intonation. Intonation. All it means is that you read like you're talking. My voice changes. When I'm happy, I usually talk really fast. When I'm sad, it kind of gets a little bit slower, but the tone at which I talk is also a little bit different. When I'm happy, I often have like a higher voice. And if I'm sad, my voice kind of gets a little bit lower. When you're asking a question, your voice goes up. When you're telling somebody something, it's very matter of fact. So your voice changes as you read, just like when you talk. And so that's what I want you to practice this week. I'm going to show you what I mean by reading this next book. I hope you enjoy. This book is called Possum's Harvest Moon, and the words and pictures are by Ann Hunter. That means Ann Hunter was the author and the illustrator. A story that is made up by the author is called fiction. Animals in fiction sometimes think, act, and speak like human beings. In Possum's Harvest Moon, the animals do some things that could not happen in real life. In other ways, they are like real animals. While you listen to this story, think about what you could and what couldn't really happen. Possum awoke one autumn evening. Autumn is just another word for fall. Shining through the grass was the biggest, brightest, yellowest moon. "Oh," said Possum, "the harvest moon." Now, harvest is the time of year when fruits and vegetables are ready to be picked. What a perfect night for a party. One last dance in the moonlight before the long winter. A harvest soiree. Now, a soiree, Possum wants to have basically a nighttime party. Possum hung the grass with lanterns and berries. Then he hurried off to invite his guests. I hope you noticed that when I said the word biggest, brightest, and yellowest moon, my voice changed a little bit. When my voice changes, it's called intonation. "Mice, mice!" Possum cried at the meadow's edge. "Come to my harvest moon party. We must gather seeds for the winter," said the mice. "We are too busy to come to your party." Did you hear how excitedly I said the word mice, mice in the beginning? And then my voice changed a little bit and probably could have changed a little bit more when I read, "We are too busy to come to your party," because it was a different character that was talking. Next, Possum peered into a pile of leaves. "Come out, crickets! Hop along to my party under the bright harvest moon." "We are tired from singing all summer," said the crickets. "The night air is too cold now, and the leaf pile is so snug." Did you hear how excited when it was Possum's turn to talk? But then my voice got slower and a little bit lower when the crickets were declining his offer to come to his party. Down by the creek, Possum found Raccoon catching fish. "Dry your hands, old Raccoon, and come to the last hurrah of the year." "Oh, I would," growled Raccoon, "but I must be good and fat for the long winter. So much to eat, so little time." Notice how when Raccoon talked, it was a little bit more kind of raspy, I suppose. And when a reader changes their voice for a different character, it's called intonation. Possum followed the creek to the pond. "Frogs, frogs," Possum shouted. "Come sing and dance under the great, great moon. Come to my harvest soiree." "Too late, too late, too late," chorused the frogs. "It's time for us to go underground for the winter." Possum turned sadly toward home. He looked up at the twinkling sky. "Oh, fireflies, could you come to my party?" The fireflies twinkled silently back at him. "How could they work on such a beautiful night?" Possum asked himself. "How can they think of sleep in such moonlight?" He put on his hat and sat alone, looking at the great harvest moon. The great harvest moon rose higher. It shone down through the grass and under the leaves. It made every tired and busy creature pause. It was a moon that made them dream of dancing, of eating and singing. Toes twitched and voices hummed. How could they possibly miss Possum's harvest soiree? I want you to think to yourself, as that harvest moon is getting higher in the sky, what do you think is happening with all those animals? And when it says, how could they possibly miss Possum's harvest soiree? It kind of sounds as though the animals want to go to Possum's party now. Raccoon rousted his crony Rabbit. The crickets invited their cousins, the katydids. The mice brought the moles, and the peepers hopped after the frogs. They hurried and scurried while the night was still young. Possum could hear squeaking and scampering from all directions. And the guests arrived. They brought seeds and berries, fiddles and songs. All together they gazed up at the face of the great harvest moon. Do you hear my voice as it starts getting more excited? It kind of sounds like Possum's party is turning out much, much better. Rabbit and Raccoon settled in down by the food. They nibbled and nodded. Never, never in all of their years, they agreed, has the harvest moon been so bright. No, never. The mice danced until the crickets played every jig twice, and the frogs grew hoarse from singing. The fireflies' lights flickered and dimmed. A cool breeze ruffled over the tired creatures as the moon sank low. It was time to go home. Home to dens and nests, holes and burrows, time for a winter's long sleep. "Good night," squeaked the mice. "Great party," chirped the crickets. "Until next spring," growled old Raccoon. "Farewell," piped the frogs. "See you next year," said Possum. He waved until every last guest was gone. Possum curled up in his own snug home. He looked out to see the last light of the great moon peeking through the grass. "Good night," yawned Possum. "Good night." So just to review, fluency is not just how fast or slow you read. It's also when your voice changes. It's called intonation. So far we've talked about fluency being rate, how fast or how slow, and intonation, how your voice changes like you're talking. Next week, we're going to talk about phrasing. That's the third part of fluency. Thank you and have a terrific Tuesday.